National. I am Vivian Izadifi. Let's take you through the headlines. Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day. Nigerians pray for fallen heroes nationwide. Federal government seeks ban on wooden boats amid rising boat mishaps. Plus, Japanese take ice bath to welcome New Year. And now to the news in detail. A special Thanksgiving and interdenominational church service has been held at the National Christian Center, Abuja, to mark the 2026 Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day. The celebration brought together members of the diplomatic community, military personnel, and worshippers in solemn reflection in honor of the fallen heroes, with prayers offered for peace, unity, protection of those still serving, and families of fallen soldiers. The report.
The 2026 Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day has been described as unique as it coincides with the successes recorded in the Northeast and other parts of the nation. It is in this light that this interdenominational church service is held in honor of serving officers and those who paid the supreme price. One after the other, accolades filled the air, lauding the contributions and sacrifices of the armed forces to ensure the sovereignty of the nation.
The blood of our valiant heroes and heroines serves and will continue to serve as the seed of our national unity and progress. Your message today reminds us that service, sacrifice, and love of country are sacred duties, and that faith remains a powerful source of strength in times of trial.
But since something like this today, everybody will be happy that one day somebody will remember me, even though I'm not alive, but we're still praying for more.
A message of hope by Most Reverend Dan Okafor harped on gratitude, encouragement, and spiritual hope.
We remember our fallen heroes, sons and daughters of Nigeria, who laid down their lives that our land may live in peace.
Special prayers, a minute silence, and Thanksgiving session characterized the service. Olajide Bello, NTA News.
Pope Leo XIV offered prayers for those killed in protests in Iran and in the conflicts in Syria during his weekly Angelus prayer on Sunday, calling for dialogue and peace. The Pope also offered his prayers for the people of Ukraine following particularly serious Russian strikes focused on energy infrastructure. The attacks were hitting the civilian population hard, just as the cold weather is getting worse. The head of the world's 1.4 billion Catholics said mass heating outages caused by Russian strikes on Kyiv are set to last into the weekend, as the capital's mayor called on residents to temporarily leave the city with sub-zero temperatures expected to fall even lower. A massive missile and drone attack on Kyiv killed 4 and ripped open apartment blocks. Moscow also fired its feared Orishnik ballistic missile at western Ukraine, drawing condemnation from Europe. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres condemned the raid, saying attacks on civilian infrastructure are against international law and unacceptable, unjustifiable, and must stop immediately. Qatar expressed deep regret over the embassy hit and said that none of its staff there had been harmed. Russia denied targeting the area around the mission and claimed it was damaged by a Ukrainian air defense missile. Let's now hand you over to Uche Ugochukwu for more on stories trending around the world. Over to you, Uche.
You're welcome. African leaders representing the ECOWAS regional bloc held talks with Guinea-Bissau's junta government on the release of detainees and the transition to constitutional rule.
They also met two opposition figures, one of whom is in detention and another who was forced to take refuge in a foreign embassy. Sierra Leone President Julius Maada Bio, who currently holds ECOWAS rotating chairmanship, and Senegal President Bassirou Diomaye Faye met officials from the country's new ruling junta. A source from Guinea-Bissau's foreign ministry said the talks were aimed at achieving rapid progress on the country's transition back to constitutional order. Just days after Guinea-Bissau held a presidential election in November, the country's military overthrew President Umaru Sissoco Embalo, who was seeking a second term, and suspended the electoral process. The ECOWAS delegations had requested the unconstitutional release of all political prisoners.
South Africa's ANC party celebrates its 114th anniversary in the northwestern town of Rustenburg, where thousands of supporters gather. Once the party of Nelson Mandela, the African National Congress led the struggle that toppled apartheid and has held power since South Africa's transition to democracy in 1994. In 2024, the party lost its parliamentary majority for the first time and was forced into a coalition government, but supporters hope to reclaim the party's glory in coming elections.
We are waiting for elections and we will rebuild ourselves and come back stronger.
Beninese voters headed to the polls Sunday in crucial parliamentary and local elections, just 1 month after a failed coup plot shook the West African country.
President Patrice Talon's ruling coalition is expected to strengthen its already powerful hand in the ballots, with the main opposition Democrats Party barred from the local polls. The elections come at a time the country is still recovering from a coup attempt. Reports say the streets of economic capital Cotonou were calm as polling stations opened at 7 a.m. local time. The single-round legislative polls will elect 409 seats in the National Assembly, where Talon's three-party bloc hopes to strengthen its majority. The Democrats, only ruling in the parliamentary races, risk ceding ground to the ruling coalition, which currently holds 81 seats. Some observers say the opposition may lose all 28 seats, given the current electoral law requiring parties to gather support from 20% of registered voters in each of the country's 24 voting districts to stand for parliament.
In a similar development, polls opened in a second phase of Myanmar's election, containing a vote which democracy watchdogs say is letting the military prolong its rule in a civilian guise. The armed forces have ruled Myanmar for most of its post-independence history, snatching back power in a 2021 coup after a decade-long democratic crisis, nullifying the previous poll, detaining Suu Kyi and plunging the country into civil war, with Suu Kyi sidelined and her massively popular party dissolved. Democracy advocates say the vote has been rigged by a crackdown on dissent and a ballot stacked with military allies. In other news, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi has met with Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan in Dar es Salaam. Tanzania's Foreign Ministry said in a statement that the visit aims to further strengthen and deepen the strategic relations and cooperation in both countries. Wang Yi is the first foreign minister to pay an official visit to Tanzania since the crackdown on election protesters last year. Ethiopia has officially started a $12.5 billion construction project for what officials say will be Africa's biggest airport when completed in 2030 in the Ethiopian town of Bishotu. Prime Minister Ahmed Abiy said on X that Bishotu International Airport will be the largest aviation infrastructure project in Africa's history. The airport is projected to have space for 270 planes and capacity for 110 million passengers a year. Elsewhere, farmers across Europe are protesting over the agreement signed between the European Union and some Caribbean nations, which they believe could affect agricultural trade. The protesters blocked major roads in France, Ireland and Austria with farming machines, calling for a revision of the EU agreements.
These heavy-duty farming machines should be on the farm, but now they are on the streets of Paris, the French capital. Farmers brought them out to protest against a trade deal between the European Union and South America. The deal, which took more than 25 years to make, would create one of the world's largest free trade areas. It would boost trade between the 27 countries EU and Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay and Uruguay. Under the agreement, the countries would export farm products and minerals to Europe. The EU would export machines, chemicals and medicines with lower taxes. Business groups welcomed the deal, but European farmers strongly oppose it. They fear that cheap imports from South America, especially from Brazil, will hurt their jobs. The protests happened in Ireland, France, Poland, Hungary and Austria against the deal. Irish farmers have been very loud on their opposition. The deal could allow an extra 99,000 tons of low-cost beef into the EU market, which would damage Ireland's farming industry. The EU has decided that the agreement will go ahead, ignoring the farmers' concerns.
That's our package on global updates. I am Uche Ugochukwu. The rest of the news continues.
Thank you, Uche. And to more on the foreign scene, the Japanese have observed a special ritual ice bath as a sign of special devotion for the new year. This comes as South Korea holds the 2026 Ice Fishing Festival, which attracts thousands of visitors from across the globe. Musa Baba Liu has more.
The weather in Tokyo, Japan on Sunday is as cold as 6 degrees Celsius. Here is a pool filled with ice water. About 80 men are ready to swim in the ice water. They believe this ritual will purify their souls and help them pray for good health in the new year. Among the devotees are young and old people, including women. Men wearing traditional iron clothes and women dressed in white robe clapped and chanted before going into an ice water bath. As the usual chants, they slowly enter the ice water and show their bravery. The ritual started in 1955. It was inspired by one of the shrine's former chief priests who splashed cold water on himself while praying for the local community's well-being. Gangwon Province, South Korea, drawing thousands of participants to the frozen stream for ice fishing and winter activities. Participants braved sub-zero temperature to drill holes in the ice and fish. This annual event, running through February 1st, features bare hand trout catching, night fishing seasons from 6 to 9 p.m., snow sliding, and cultural performances, with organizers expecting over 1 million visitors, including more than 100,000 international tourists.
It brings back those old memories, and spending time together with my son is what really matters. So we are having a great time.
Local authorities, including Wanchon Country Mayor Choi Moon-soon, highlighted the festival's role in boosting tourism for the area, which has a population of about 200,000. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA International. It's time to take a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Thick fog, dusty air, and unpleasant smell filled the atmosphere as residents of Nigeria's capital, Abuja, woke up Sunday morning to an unusual weather condition. The sudden change has left many struggling to breathe comfortably, raising concerns about air quality, public health, and the possible dangers of inhaling polluted air. Charles Alpha examines costs, health risks involved, and the precautions residents are advised to take.
Residents of Abuja were greeted on Sunday morning by an unusual and uncomfortable weather conditions marked by thick fog, dusty air, and an unpleasant smell that hung over many parts of the city. Those who stepped out early for church service said they felt a peppery and burning eyes. For some, the air felt heavy, irritating, and unable to breathe normally.
Actually, I was surprised and shocked, so we really didn't expect to see this weather here today.
Experts believe the condition is largely linked to dry season weather patterns, especially the movement of dust-laden winds from the Sahara Desert, commonly known as the Harmattan effect. These winds, they say, carry fine particles of sand, smoke, and pollutants into the atmosphere, reducing air quality and visibility. The warn that breathing in dusty and polluted air can pose serious health risk, especially for children, the elderly, and people with existing health conditions.
One of it is lung cancer, asthma, which is very, very common. We also have cases of pulmonary diseases.
Dry and dusty wind, experts say, irritates the airways, making breathing difficult for some persons. And so they have advised the use of face masks when outdoor. Doctors advise people who already have breathing problems to be extra careful during this period. Close windows and doors to prevent dust from entering homes. Drink plenty of water to keep the throats and lungs hydrated. Residents, for now, are hoping for a clearer skies and fresher air in the days ahead. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
The Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Adeboyinka Oyetola, has renewed his call on state governments across the Federation to urgently ban the use of wooden boats for commercial water transportation and instead invest in safer, modern fiber and aluminium boats. The minister made the call against the backdrop of recent tragic boat accident, which claimed several lives and left many families in mourning.
The Minister Oyetola, in a statement, charges waterways users to take personal responsibility for their safety by adhering strictly to basic safety measures and warns against night travel, which often come with poor visibility and high risks, and urges passengers to insist on wearing approved life jackets at all times. He made the call against the backdrop of recent tragic boat accident, which claimed several lives and left many families in mourning. He expressed deep sympathy with the victims of the mishap and extended heartfelt condolences to the families of the deceased. The minister states that the continued reliance on rickety boats in many riverine states and not adherence to safety standards remain the major contributors to incidents on Nigeria's waterways, noting that many of these boats are poorly constructed, inadequately maintained, and prone to structural failures, especially when overloaded or exposed to harsh weather conditions. Oyetola adds that phasing out wooden boats in favor of fiber-reinforced plastic and aluminium boats will significantly improve safety on the waterways. Reaffirming the federal government's commitment to waterway safety, the minister emphasized that ensuring safety on Nigeria's waterways requires collective action and political will at all levels of government.
Nigeria's animal health system is gaining renewed momentum as efforts intensify to strengthen disease surveillance and control across the country. The Minister of Livestock Development, Idi Mukhtar Meha, at the inauguration of a state-of-the-art veterinary diagnostic laboratory in Sokoto State, says recent investment in modern veterinary infrastructure are positioning Nigeria for a more efficient, effective, and resilient livestock production system. Yusuf Jika has details.
Purpose-built to protect animal health and boost productivity, the state-of-the-art animal disease surveillance laboratory stands as a major leap in Nigeria's livestock transformation journey. The facility, delivered by the Livestock Productivity and Resilience Support Project (LPRES) in partnership with the Sokoto State Government, is designed to strengthen disease detection, enhance biosecurity, and position Nigeria for globally competitive livestock production. Commending the collaboration, the Minister of Livestock Development, Edi Mukhtar Meha, described the laboratory as a critical addition to the industry's ongoing transformation drive, noting that a healthy animal population remains the backbone of food security and economic resilience.
These are things that are just nice to have. These are the imperatives, infrastructure that we require to transform the livestock sector in Nigeria. We're talking about animal health. We're talking about survivability. We're talking about sustainability. The only way that can happen is to close those gaps. Here in Sokoto again, we have seen a conscious effort.
We are trying to create synergy so that they can work together. We have a laboratory here, then we have the main hospital that is built by NCO for the benefit of the livestock farmers.
Adding further momentum, a 10,000 dose capacity solar-powered cold chain facility was also unveiled, a game-changing intervention that guarantees safe storage of vaccines and other vital livestock biologicals. Beyond infrastructure, the minister inspected a fleet of heavy-duty agricultural and earth-moving equipment, tractors, combine harvesters, harrowers, and bulldozers procured under the Sokoto State Livestock Breeding Program. Impressed by what he saw, the minister praised the state government's resolve, describing Sokoto as steadily positioning itself as a hub for modern, sustainable livestock enterprise. In Sokoto, Yusuf Jika, NTA News.
Barely 3 years after he was arrested, prosecuted and sentenced to 2 years imprisonment, an 80-year-old has again been nabbed by operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency for returning to the criminal trade. Salwa Khalil Ibrahim reports that tons of illicit drugs were uncovered in raids across the country during the week in review.
The 80-year-old grandpa is said to be notorious for illicit drug business. He was first arrested in 2022, prosecuted and sentenced to 2 years in jail by a federal high court in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State. Not ready to let go the old habit, he returned to the illicit drug trade, and following credible intelligence, NDLEA operatives on Saturday, 10th January 2025, tracked the octogenarian to his village in Abak local government area of Akwa Ibom State, where he was arrested with 5.7 kilograms of skunk, a strain of cannabis, in his residence. In another successful interdiction operation in Akwa Ibom State, NDLEA operatives on patrol along Oron-Ibaka Road in Oron local government area intercepted a 37-year-old businessman while traveling with full-body mannequins for his clothing business in Cameroon. A search of the mannequins revealed that they were stuffed with pills of tramadol, weighing 5.3 kilograms. In Oyo State, raids across different locations led to the seizure of dangerous illicit drugs and arrest of notorious dealers, where a total of 10.696 kilograms of Colorado, Scottish Loud, Ghana Loud, Canadian Loud, and skunk, all strains of cannabis. A dispatch rider and 2 other suspects were arrested at Ihama Airport Road, GRA, Benin City, Edo State, in connection with the seizure of 118 grams of Canadian Loud and a wrap of Colorado. Meanwhile, not less than 30,950 capsules of tramadol were recovered from the home of a suspect in Bachuri area of Yola South local government area of Adamawa State, following his arrest at the Lamido Aliyu Mustafa International Airport, Yola. In Abuja, Salwa Khalil Ibrahim, NTA News.
Before we go, let's take a look at the weather forecast in Nigeria and some parts of the world. Other stories trending at this time. Thanks for being part of it. I am Vivian Izadi.